Hello and welcome to Doordarshan's special series Bharat Reloaded, celebrating 12 years of the NDA government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I'm Nitin Gokhale. In this episode, I'm joined by former Cabinet Secretary, Home Secretary, and now NITI Aayog member Rajiv Gauba to discuss national security issues, particularly relating to internal security and, of course, the other related matters. Mr. Gauba, thank you very much for joining this podcast.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you.
When we look back at the Modi government's tenure for the last 12 years, one of the most consequential changes that happened was in 2019, the abrogation of Article 370. And you were the incumbent Home Secretary that time, and of course, you later became the Cabinet Secretary. If you can take us through the thought process, the planning, and the implementation of the abrogation, how did it happen?
So, Nitin, I think consequential is the word, as you put it very aptly. I think it was one of the most consequential decisions of the government in the post-independence history of India. Bold and decisive action, which could have been taken only by a Prime Minister like Prime Minister Modi, with absolute clarity, resolve, and strong will to make a clean break from almost 70-year long approach, which was a wishy-washy kind of an approach,
Appeasement kind of a
tentative
thing.
approach, appeasement, mollycoddling, and trying to somehow manage the situation
Right.
rather than taking the bull by its horns and attacking the one of the root causes of the problem.
Right.
That is what it
Absolutely.
was.
Yeah, you're right.
And I say root cause because, what did Article 370 do? It created and then perpetuated a separatist mindset. And over time, in the psyche of the nation, somehow, it got embedded that this is irrevocable.
That's right.
And this is something which is even inconceivable. Abrogating can't be even thought of.
Yeah, and we have to live with it. I mean,
That
there's no
is
choice.
constitutionally perhaps impermissible, and the consequences of abrogating it or tinkering with it or diluting it will lead to a situation which will become unmanageable. That was the mindset or thought process which had prevailed for a very, very long time,
Sure.
after independence.
Right.
And it was actually a false narrative because the instrument of accession which Maharaja of Kashmir signed with the government of India
Right.
on 26th October 1947, it was no different from the instruments of accession signed by all the other 564 princely states. But somehow the narrative, was created that Kashmir had agreed only to defense, external affairs, and communication to be handled by the union government, and rest everything was to remain in the
State.
domain of the state. But all instruments of accession were identically worded.
Oh.
But people thought that no, this is a unique case of
Right.
Kashmir. That was not the case. And Article 370, was in the Part 21 of the Indian Constitution.
Correct.
And Part 21 is titled Temporary and Transitional Provisions. By definition, it was not supposed to remain permanent.
That's right.
Article 370 should have gone much earlier.
Yeah.
But somehow it got embedded in the national psyche or mindset that no, it is permanent. So by definition, it was temporary. It
Right.
had to go, and what happened was that when the Constituent Assembly for Jammu and Kashmir drafted and approved the constitution, separate constitution
Yes.
for J&K, and then decided to dissolve itself.
Right.
They should have, at that time, recommended abrogation
Of
Article
that article.
370, because it was supposed to
Be
only for that
transient.
period.
Yeah, transient.
And again, this separate constitution was not something peculiar or unique to Kashmir. Not many people know that many princely states which signed the instruments of accession, they prepared their own constitutions through different processes.
Right.
As many as 62.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Ah,
So
this is not known. Exactly.
It's not known.
Yeah.
That is the narrative that was built, created,
Yeah.
fostered.
Okay.
So similarly, this was a temporary provision. It should have ended then. So they did not do so.
That's right.
Whether by accident or design, I do not know. But then, in doing so, they couldn't have rendered the Indian Parliament impotent or helpless.
Right.
So Parliament is
Supreme.
supreme. So therefore, it needed to end, and that is on 5th August
That was done.
2019. This was done. The reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir and abrogation of Article 370. Abrogation in the sense that what was done was that through a presidential order,
Right.
the entire constitution of India became applicable to the state of
Jammu and Kashmir.
Jammu and Kashmir.
Right.
Before this, as per Article 370, only some parts could be made applicable, and so in installments or in piecemeal fashion,
Sure.
different parts of the Indian Constitution were made over the years applicable.
Slowly they were being applied. Yes.
But what are, as it this had several very negative consequences. One, that it fostered this separatist mindset that we are different,
Yes.
unique, not part of the Indian Union in the same sense in which
Other states.
other states are. I mean, if you look at, every state has unique,
Of course.
ethnic
India's northeast.
identity, linguistic, cultural, and the Indian Constitution provides ample opportunities for those identities to be preserved and to flourish.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that you are
Out of the union.
out.
Or separate or different.
Yeah. Number two, many progressive, amendments to the Indian Constitution. Constitution is a living document, evolves. Many progressive amendments, legislations have come into effect over since 1952. They did not become applicable to J&K automatically. So they either never became applicable, or they could be applied only after a lapse of several years.
Right.
After the J&K Assembly would recommend, after the decision of the J&K state government. So the benefits of these laws, these amendments, which were meant for the marginalized sections of population, mostly women,
Yeah.
tribes, scheduled castes, these sections of society were deprived of these benefits. Number three, as a result of Article 370, the full potential of J&K, it has enormous potential.
Oh, yes.
Tourism itself, it's one of the best in the world.
Correct.
Remained grossly under utilized, under leveraged, under exploited, depriving people of the benefits of progress, of economic development, prosperity, livelihood.
Right.
So these were all the negative, consequences of Article 370 being, remaining on the statute. So therefore, this was a very important landmark decision, and got taken only because of the resolve of the Prime Minister. So the decision and then its
Implementation.
Implementation and dealing with the
Consequences.
aftermath. So everything went off very well. It was almost flawless, if I may say so.
No, absolutely.
And the fact that it was done in a absolutely legal, constitutionally correct manner is borne out by the fact that the Supreme Court, after a prolonged hearing and a battery of topmost
Legal
lawyers
luminaries,
representing,
yes.
argued,
Right.
5-judge bench in December 23, they upheld the action
Sure.
in its entirety,
Exactly.
including the reorganization
Right.
of the state of
Yes.
Jammu and Kashmir,
Yeah,
bifurcation,
correct. Ladakh and
Ladakh and
Jammu and Kashmir.
making them
Union territories.
union territories.
Yes.
So J&K, what had happened was that it is not that government had not tried other. You remember that in September 2017, Dineshwar Sharma was appointed as special interlocutor.
Right.
So all these things had been tried, but Article 370 continued to kind of remain at the back
was
of
an
people's mind,
overhang.
that they're different, and so I think it was a very timely decision by a bold and absolutely resolute political leadership by Prime Minister.
Despite
Narendra Modi.
Pakistan's protestations, Indian government went through it. I mean, you all did it. You knew there was international UN crime may happen. So how did you deal with that?
So as I said that one part was preparing the Reorganization Act and the presidential orders. That was one part of the process. The second was, what will be the reaction of other countries? What may be the, they will try to create trouble, Pakistan and its proxies through their separatist outfits. So very meticulous planning was undertaken. Large number of required preventive arrests were made. Some of the people who would have created trouble, fomented trouble, inflamed public opinion, they were detained, and some of them were sent to jails outside J&K. Deployment of Central Paramilitary Forces was stepped up on a large scale. In the event, nothing happened.
Absolutely. It was completely
Nothing happened, which only showed that people were actually fed up, of the senseless violence and of disruption to daily life, loss of livelihoods, education from time to time.
Correct.
There used to be, strikes and calls for hartals at the drop of a hat,
Sure.
stone pelting. So there was no support actually
True.
at the ground level.
Absolutely.
People were out of fear of the separatist, outfits. They used to go along with the calls for boycotts and hartals and all that. So in the event, nothing happened. All as a result of meticulous planning, not just the deployment, but a lot of other preparations were made. Logistics. The fuel, the food stuff, all these should remain available in the event there is
some disruption there.
but nothing happened.
Nothing, yeah, exactly. No, that's why I said consequential. And as you said, in independent India's history, This is one of the most important, I think, decision, and you lived through it. You were part of it, like that. But now, when you look back,
One of the triggers,
yes. I was
was
just
also,
going to ask you.
that, I mean,
why
while this was
thought
the
process.
thought process was there, that we have to deal with the root cause of the problem.
Yes.
I think the terrorist attack on CRPF convoy on 14th February
2019. Yes.
2019 near Pulwama,
Correct.
that was also, I think, something which further steeled Prime Minister Modi's resolve
Correct.
to address the problem root stock and
Once and for all, yeah. I think so. One of the most successful aspects of internal security has been the demolition of the left-wing extremism. I want to straight away jump to that because that again is not spoken about in very much detail. You've dealt with it as a district magistrate, perhaps later in the state of Jharkhand when you were chief secretary. But what is it that has now brought the left-wing extremism to the end only, I would say? I mean, people can quibble on that, but I'll say it's ended. How?
I have, dealt with left-wing extremism throughout my career because I belonged to the erstwhile Bihar cadre, then Jharkhand, and many of the districts where I served, they were infested with this problem. But before that, let me complete the J&K.
Okay, yes, please.
One more thing.
Sure.
Post the abrogation, there has been massive development.
True.
Investments are flowing in. All these schemes are being implemented in saturation mode. Schools are running regularly. Colleges are running regularly. So the potential of the state, the economic progress is happening. This is visible. There is a sea change. You saw the, Chenab Rail Bridge,
Yes.
the world's highest arch rail bridge, has been commissioned. So I think what was done by, one stroke on that day, 5th August, its benefits are
now
being
being
seen and full potential is yet to be realized. So I think that is a very important.
I think it should be noted, and it's, Jammu and Kashmir has become like any other Indian state now, in a way, and more. It's catching up.
Yeah. So to your question about the left-wing extremism, I think this is one of the most successful examples of handling an internal security challenge.
True.
Before 2014, or in 2014 Prime Minister Modi took office, it had become a very, very serious challenge, and had been described as the most serious national security challenge by the then Prime Minister in 2010.
10, yes.
What a veritable, you can say, red corridor or red zone was in existence,
Exactly.
where the writ of the government did not run.
True.
And the Maoists were able to, kill at will, security personnel, the common people. They did not allow bridges to be constructed, roads to be constructed, schools to run. So what changed?
That's what.
I think the earlier approach suffered from ambiguity, ambivalent approach.
Okay.
States had stepped up their security. They had, kind of beefed up their security apparatus, etc. All that had happened. There were, police and the central paramilitary forces were battling the Maoists, but there was the comprehensive approach, all-out approach,
Right.
whole of government approach. That was
Missing.
Post 2014, I think government under Prime Minister Modi was absolutely determined to root out this problem. So a national action plan was formulated and put into action, the National Action Plan to Combat Left-Wing Extremism 2015. And it was an all-out comprehensive approach shorn of any ambivalence. That we have to, this has become, this organization has become nothing more than a band of extortionists, right? Bereft of any ideology or idealism.
True.
It has just become a way of life. They are exploiting the local youth, compelling them or cajoling them or somehow fooling them into joining them. So, first of all, the deployment of Central Paramilitary Forces was stepped up.
Okay.
And there was a clear roadmap and which was implemented that we have to more and more advance into the so-called
Red zone.
liberated
Okay.
zones or red zones and open camps there.
Ah,
And opening camps was difficult there because of the accessibility.
right.
So a massive road building and bridge construction program. You build roads, build bridges, and for that which you require deployment of security forces. And once that is done, then you establish those camps. So, progressively, the state established its presence in the strongholds of Maoists, and they started retreating as a result of resolute implementation of this policy.
Sure. What is extraordinary also that it is this kind of an approach is not limited to J&K or left-wing extremism. Even you look at Northeast, and I can say a little bit about Northeast because I've lived there, reported from there. Even Northeast has been a extraordinary story in many ways. Controlling insurgency, development. If you can, sort of highlight some of those points as far as the Indian government's approach is concerned.
So, Nitin, the Northeast has seen dramatic improvement, with the exception for the last some time in Manipur. The rest of the Northeast has seen a transformation.
Absolutely.
Act East policy, articulated by the Prime Minister Modi, has been actually put into practice. And I think one of the important elements or pillars of that policy has been to step up all efforts for social and economic development of the entire Northeast region. In the last 10, 12 years, there has been massive upgradation of infrastructure in the Northeast. The rail connectivity has improved dramatically. Today, almost all Northeastern, all in fact,
All, yeah.
are connected to rail or are about to get connected,
Right.
which was not the case earlier. Air connectivity has improved dramatically. Road, some major highways, roads have been constructed.
Sure.
Some landmark projects, bridges like the Bogibeel
Yeah.
or the Bhupen Hazarika Setu, Dhola Sadia.
Right.
These have, I think, and then again, like in the left-wing extremist affected areas, for the Northeast, there was a special intervention package to improve telecom connectivity, the mobile towers, large numbers.
Yeah, in the deepest areas.
Deepest
there's one there.
So, connectivity has been a huge force multiplier. People are traveling
Oh, yes.
to Northeast, from Northeast, their youth are coming for education, taking up jobs. So I think the full potential of Northeast, then the hydroelectric potential, vast untapped potential. Many projects were, just languishing, they were on the drawing board. They have started getting implemented.
Sure.
So on development front, all these major initiatives have made a huge impact, and people want to, like anywhere else in the country or the world, want to live a good life.
Absolutely.
And enjoy the fruits of development.
True.
And so they see, that there is no point in supporting the separatist outfits or the extremist
Sure.
outfits. And the youth are, cannot be fooled into joining these people. Second, there has been engagement also
Exactly.
with
I was
many
going-
of these, even small or not so small outfits or organizations. There has been a constant outreach, dialogue with them. Many of them have been brought to the negotiating table. Agreements have been signed with them, and they have come into the mainstream.
Sure. One final question I just wanted to ask you on the amendment or the change in the Criminal Procedure Code and the IPC, the Indian Penal Code, which is a vast subject, I know. But again, the thought process behind that, if you can just highlight.
It is
BNS
not a change, but the entire architecture of
law.
criminal laws
Jurisprudence.
has been changed.
Yes.
The Indian Penal Code, the Criminal Procedure Code, and the Indian Evidence Act, the three laws which formed the bedrock of criminal justice system, they have been completely overhauled and new laws have been put in place. This comes from, Prime Minister Modi's relentless drive that we have to rid our regulatory framework of the colonial legacy.
True.
The earlier, so the repeal of archaic laws
Yes.
and the reform of various laws to make them people friendly, reduce compliances, etc. That is all part of the same concept
Yes.
or philosophy of changing the grammar of governance, right? People friendly.
What you have given us as an overview of what has been achieved in the internal security field in India is extraordinary, and I think you've been one of the major parts of that. So congratulations for that, and thank you for
you.
sparing your time
Thank
for being here. So that was Mr. Rajiv Gauba, currently a member of the NITI Aayog, but former Cabinet Secretary and Home Secretary, who has lived through and implemented and been part of the success that the government has achieved over the past 12 years in internal security aspects of governance. Thank you for watching. I'm Nitin Gokhale.